Welcome, everybody. We've still got people joining us and coming into the room, but in the meantime, let's get started. I'm Sharon Constanson. I am the chairman of the South African Chamber of Commerce here in the UK, and we are here today to spend time with the female winners of the South African Chamber Awards. The awards are for 2023. I'm going to just run around introducing everybody quickly. Then what I will do is I will ask each of our winners to share with us what they do as a day job, what the winning has meant to them. Then we'll talk about what they do for society, for communities, for business, for customers, for family, whomever. And then we will start just chatting about some of the very specifics about each individual. So here we have with us today, Dr. Artie Roberts. Company is celebrating humanity, and she won the award jointly for diversity, equity, and inclusion leadership. With her as a co-winner was Arlene Wilson-Max. Her company is Innovative Entrepreneurs. She is also a member of the Chamber, and she jointly won the diversity, equity, and inclusion leadership. We then have Dr. Jashri Naidu. Oh, you some clever ladies out there. Her business is Envision It, Deep AI. We need to get you to come join one of our webinars. I'm going to follow that one up, Jashri. And she won the award for Innovator. Connie Maliha of Coney Wines, interesting. And Coney, today I am hosting a South African royal family to show them my wine cellar. So you better send some stuff over quick. Coney Wines, and she won Businesswoman of the Year. And then we have Carol Masashiva Kapoor Construction, and she won Businesswoman as well. So well done to all of the ladies, some incredible talent. And what was so wonderful on the night of the event that we held in London in January and in Johannesburg in February was the passion, the fun, the humor, the interaction between all the winners. And it's the first time we've actually done it with the winners online in such a successful way, where we had winners in the room and winners online. So, Artie, share a little bit about who you are, your business, what's brought you to here, why do you think you won?
I think that one of the important things is that my journey started 26 years ago as an entrepreneur, and I created Celebrating Humanity International, basically to heal the wounds of South Africa, where it came from, all of the disconnect. And we built the business based on how to celebrate our humanness as a different way to connect with people. And I think that one of the aspects of the book that I'm writing, Creating Compassionate Leaders of Influence, has had influence in why I was part of the award ceremony, because it's an unusual way to address a very, very massive and very deeply impactful topic, and that's racism, discrimination, DEI. You're looking at psychological safety, and there's quite a lot of aspects for DEI. So I think that in those kinds of environments, it makes sense with the work that we're doing from squatter camps all the way to boards of directors. The impact is based on the human experience, respecting people in the way they wish to be respected, and understanding that we need to stop apologizing for breathing and to just embrace the reality of who we are and be excited about that as human beings. So that's where I'm coming from.
Thank you so much. Arlene?
Okay, great. Well, I'm a director of a nonprofit organization called Innovative Entrepreneurs, and my journey also started 26 years ago. My focus is basically teaching people how to fish instead of giving them fish, and in a sustainable manner that allows for growth, job creation, economic sustainability, and also an increase on foreign direct investment into South Africa. So I looked at it from an economic point of view, not the social point of view, and the inclusion of diversity, equity in the spaces, the corporate spaces, the government spaces, making sure There were creation of policies, legislation that included women, youth, and persons with disabilities. And I do that through a wide, very, very wide strategic partnership platform. And we have about 25 different hubs. And these hubs focus on the artisanal skills rather than the university degrees sort of spaces, because in the communities, in the low income earning communities, you find a lot of people don't either have the money, or my mom always says, not everyone's brain is in their head. Some people's brains are in their hands. And if you give someone a piece of wood, they can make something beautiful out of that. And I've taken all of that and incorporated it into the different hubs in the hope of increased income generating activity. Because when people start earning an income, we reduce poverty, we reduce hunger, we reduce crime, etc. And that is one of the reasons why I think that I was also selected to be part of the award ceremony.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Sharon.
And thank you for the work you do within the Chamber as well. She's joined our Exco and is running a series of activities and events. So thank you, Arlene. Joshua.
Thank you so much, Sharon. It's so lovely to see everyone again, and thank you for having me. My journey in entrepreneurship actually only started about 5 years ago, where I actually made quite a bold step to leave my full-time clinical academic career, which was a 20-year career of being a radiologist and then a subspecialist in pediatric radiology, whereas in 2010, I became the first South African trained pediatric radiologist. And really why I started Envision a Deep AI was to increase and improve accessibility to pediatric imaging. So I was just one of 20 pediatric radiologists in the continent of Africa, which is the youngest in the world. And I wanted to use artificial intelligence to really augment and multiply what I do. And so that's why I started Envision a Deep AI and developed our first product, which was Radify, which assists doctors in medical imaging diagnosis to look at pediatric imaging and help them to identify really serious pathologies. And it's really this purpose for positive social impact that really fuels my drive for innovation. And that's why I won the Innovator of the Year award. And very happy to be here. Thank you.
It's incredible when you look at the diversity of some of the things you ladies do. And Joshua, it's just wonderful to see a lady as I've done in the boardroom in business, and it's not easy. And congratulations on actually taking on the innovative IT side, because that is really the leading edge of where we're going in business. So thumbs up to you. Well done. And keep that up. And I've got a lot of questions to ask you. And I'll get to those in a moment. Connie.
Hi, everyone. Lovely meeting you. And thanks for this opportunity. Yes, 10 years ago, I started the brand Connie Wines. I'm from the corporate sector in the insurance space. And I just felt I needed a pause, from it all. And then I had an idea of multiple things that I wanted to do then. But, visiting wineries, being exposed to wine drinking at a very late age, because my parents, especially my dad, was really battling with alcohol. So at home, we really were not encouraged to drink. So when I moved from Joburg to Cape Town, that's where, the curiosity started. And in my corporate environment, I started drinking wine a bit and starting, to enjoy it. And one day, having discussions with few people in the industry, and I thought, maybe one day I could just make a difference in this sector. And so it happened, and I started the brand Goni. It hasn't been easy. It was very challenging, but 10 years later, I'm still standing. And at home, you know, we are big with legacy, with purpose. So this brand stands for that. And it's to inspire those who actually say, I can't, and they can. So I hope to really be an inspiration to the upcoming generation, especially women, young girls out there. Thank you.
Thank you. And drinking wine, socializing with people, breaking bread, as they say, you cannot have a friendship when it's not over food. And food can't be had, at least you've got some decent wine to go with it.
Absolutely.
And it's such a nice way of actually making lifelong friendships is through food, through socializing, through being able to enjoy quality wine. And it's so lovely to see, again, another very male-dominated territory in the old days. And also, when I went into banking, male Afrikaans dominated. Yours very much so, Connie, as well.
Oh, yeah.
So we've all had to deal with what I called the bulletproof glass ceiling, the concrete ceiling. It was HBR had so many headaches in my life, so I sympathize.
Absolutely.
I'm a lot older than all of you, so my concrete was a lot deeper than yours has been.
Yeah.
Carol, it's lovely to see you. Welcome back. Can you share your current life and the reason for why you think you won the Businesswoman Award?
Thank you so much, Sharon, and congratulations to my fellow winners. I think ever since I won the award, it's been a whirlwind of so many things happening within the business. So just to give a little bit of a background, I'm an engineering practitioner. So I've been running the business for 12 years with about 15 to 17 years experience in. When I decided to start the business within the space, honestly speaking, it was led by passion and the drive that I had, you know, to see more women involved within the STEM industry. As we all know that we are often excluded, you know, within the engineering spaces as it's very male dominant. So for me, the drive comes from seeing myself going up the ladder and actually pushing those behind me to come with me. So the exposure, you know, I'm able to incorporate young women within the STEM space, you know, to be in and, you know, to sort of be in the business and also in the industry. That's what pushes me every day. And I think that's what made me become the category winner together with Connie. I mean, it's not an easy thing trying to break barriers, you know, where especially for female and Black females, you know, it's seen as taboo, you know, to be working in a space in spaces where, you know, we are wearing hard hats, we're wearing boots, and, you know, we're able to stand with the male counterpart and actually do the things that they do. So for me, the industry is just broad enough for all of us, and me being in it means that, you know, I can be a leader, and I can also take those who are coming behind us with us as well. So I think that's what made me become the category winner, and I love the space so much. I don't think I would be doing anything else. I love being a pit bull in heels, which I often call myself. I think that there are so many barriers that we can break, and we are going to break them. Yeah.
Got some lovely questions coming to follow up with you in a moment, Carol. Maybe go back to where we started with Artie. Artie, you talk very much about your mentor and the book you're writing.
Mm.
How is that contributing towards yourself and your giving back to others, the value you give to others? Just share a little bit of that story.
Well, that's an interesting one, because my mentor is now my best friend that I met over 20 odd years ago. She was part of the editorial team for the 52 Inspirational Women at Work in South Africa, which was written by Liesl Kritzinger. And I was one of the youngest people at 23, I think, that was able to write in the communications section of that book. And the foreword is by Oprah, and we've got Miriam Makeba, some incredible woman in that space. I met her at the launch of this book. So I was in the presence of some phenomenal, phenomenal women. And I was just an immature young person coming into this massive conference of just powerful women whose energies were out of this world. I've never experienced energies like that. And for me, when I connected with her, there was just something about her that just screamed soul sister. And I never knew what that meant or understood the depth of what it would become in my life. But, embracing somebody who was 20 years older than me, an international journalist who traveled the world, and her experiences were some of the things that I got to learn from. And I got to be guided by her every step of the way, from personal to business, to just giving me a slap on the head and saying, stop it and get over yourself, at certain points. And I needed somebody stronger than me, with a stronger spirit than me, to actually say, that's not how you do things, and to realign my professional behavior and belief system. Now, we always are told to stand up and step up and level up and all of these fantastic words, but a lot of times people don't tell us how. And, we can walk into the room and look arrogant, or we can walk into the room and have presence. And I believe that my female mentor, Lindiwe Sadsa, was the person that I look up to, who gave me that belief in myself to have presence over power. And that when I look at the word impact and influence, I understand that there's intentionality behind it. And I believe that gave me the strong foundations that I deserved to grow in, rather than looked at as an entitlement because of my gender. And one of the things that I found is that listening without being a victim of life, and not feeling as if, the world is against me, allowed me to create belief systems, like challenging perspectives and the things that people say to us. So when she spoke into environments where she was limited, in the aerospace industry, in international platforms, she explained to me what she did differently, and I used that to create foundations of respect and engagement. And what I realized personally, and this is my personal belief system, is that the glass ceiling effect is based on our mindsets and our beliefs as women. Because I always say to them, glass is see-through, it's transparent, can be shattered. So what is limiting us in our minds that prevents us from taking on those industries or rebuilding it in our favor? So for me, that was a pivotal part of my growth. And I'll forever be grateful that I've had her in my life, and I still have her. And the other person that, that was massive for me, and I find that it's, people talk about your tribe. And for me, it is from childhood, best friends, and watching them grow in spaces where it was dominated for one gender only. And they never saw gender. They just saw, how can I embrace other people, other genders and people into my life, and learn from them? So I feel that compassion is one of the key things that I had to learn for myself, to be able to then grow within myself in order to impact people.
Thank you. That really is interesting. And it's amazing how that woman is interwoven in so much into your life since that day. Arlene, you talk about all these hubs. You have taken me on a grand tour at least once, where we went to go and meet some of these wonderful people that have their intelligence in their hands. I just love that story. Your mum's got it quoted for life from now onwards. You need to put that up somewhere by your mum. And the creativity and the passion that I see when you walk around some of the hub areas that we have. And when we came up for the gala dinner, which was in June, I was chatting to Arlene, and we had 2 weeks to the gala dinner. And the gala dinner is in London, and Arlene and the hubs are in Johannesburg. And we managed to get the most beautiful table runners, key rings, placemats, salad spoons, and there was one other thing. And those were all made by hand and shipped over and reached us in time, in one piece, all working perfectly. So we could hand to the Lord Mayor table mats with the most beautiful African drawings on them, and actually brought Africa into our gala dinner. So from my side, Arlene, I said, thank you for pulling out a miracle there. And we all didn't believe we could do it until we did, which is something I think Mandela has said to us before. So thank you for that. Arlene, could you just share with us a little bit about the hubs?
Okay, well, the reason that we identified the different hubs is specifically for on-the-job work experience, because you get a lot of learnerships a lot of skills development, and the focus is skills development. But what comes out of the skills development is the modules are outdated, that we are training the youth, women, and persons with disabilities on, and it's not exactly what private sector requires in order to move forward. It's a little outdated. And when I picked that up, I then created the different hubs so that the youth, women, and persons with disabilities on either internships or the Yes for Youth program would have on-the-job work experience. And before placing the youth into the specific hub, what we would do is understand their passion. What are they passionate about? Are they going to be able to develop a career out of what they're passionate about? Or are they just simply after the stipend that comes at the end of every month because they're on a program? So we created these hubs and we placed the youth in those spaces. And along with the on-the-job work experience, we looked at different capacity building programs like corporate governance. What is corporate governance? How does it impact your business? How does a company function with corporate governance versus a company that doesn't have corporate governance? How do you develop your personal biography? How do you, what is your vision board? And how do you intend to achieve what is on your vision board? And the follow-up after each of the different programs was so important. I mean, today, one of the youth is from our energy hub. Her name is Zanele. She was passionate about engineering also, and opened up from the day I started with her, which was 5 years ago. She said she wants to install solar. As an engineer and an electrical engineer, she wanted to install solar and impact SDG number, I think it's SDG number 13, climate action. And this is how she wants to do it. Today, she's the managing director of B&K Solar. And she got her first project to implement 150 solar panels in an organization, in a warehouse. She's also just done the airport in KZN, the solar at the airport. So for me, it's phenomenal to see how they grow because of the solid capacity building and support and mentorship that Artie spoke about. Without mentors, I mean, you don't get very far because they open the doors that you would have to cold call in order to be able to open. So we also teach them how to find a mentor, how to get yourself ready to speak to your mentor. And of course, I can go on and on, so I will stop there, Sharon.
Oh, you're wonderful, Arlene. I love the energy. You caused so much energy there. You got your wavelengths getting confused. You had so much energy. I think you were powering up the energy around you. Jashri, from your perspective, I mean, you've told us how you are so unique in Africa in what you're specializing in and how you're doing it. We're all ignorant, but we all know that there are children in the world that need to survive. Just try and link and teach us about what does the AI actually do for the doctor? What does the engineering do for saving lives? It all sounds so wonderful, but I'm not a doctor, so I need help.
Yeah, so I'll just go back to my background as a pediatric radiologist. So what it is I do is I look at, if you're going to a doctor, if it's x-rays, CT scans, MRI. So I'm a radiologist, and I look at these images and look at certain patterns that are in these images and put all these patterns and signs together to come up with the diagnosis. So I've always had that very investigative kind of mind. And that's how I branched into radiology. And then having a passion and wanting to take care of children is where I became a pediatric radiologist. So I'll just take you back into why it is I wanted to use technology to do what I do. I used to do a lot of outreach work with the World Federation of Pediatric Imaging, going to hospitals in our neighboring country, outside of South Africa, and train medical officers to look at these x-rays and make a diagnosis of, for example, tuberculosis and pneumonia, which is the #1 cause of death in children under the age of 5. Now, teaching these doctors, these medical officers who don't have, that specialist training, I can only train, a few every few months, right? And I'm not going to be able to make or have this change as my own, just one person. And especially being one of 20 in the continent. So what it is we do with technology like artificial intelligence, it uses these patterns. You train an algorithm, and we train algorithms by specialists. So it's having that end user specialist. We make annotations on an X-ray and feed this to an algorithm. So if you think of an algorithm, think of it as a little child. As it gets fed more and more information, it becomes cleverer and cleverer, and it starts being able to make decisions. But it should never be left on its own. And so through the years, what we developed is a monitoring tool. And this has really become our flagship product right now. We're really focusing on AI safety, is we are able to now monitor how the algorithm works. So radiologists can go in, give feedback and say, I'm happy with this. This is where I defer with an AI, and gives feedback to our algorithm. So it's safe, explainable AI. So this is the space we're in. So that's really what an algorithm is. It looks at patterns, puts it together, very similar way to the way your mind works, your brain works with all the neural networks. Algorithms work in the same way. So I've basically implanted my brain and pediatric radiology into our algorithm so that it can actually multiply what I do to almost a transformative scale and globally.
Unbelievable.
I hope that I answered that in a better way. You tell me.
No, thank you. That was a very, very interesting. The question I ask, and you may have answered it in that what children suffer most. What are you typically X-raying for on children?
Yeah.
What's your top 3 likely reasons they are needing your help?
Yeah, so especially in children compared to adults, the first type of imaging modality that you would want to, if a child is sick and goes to a hospital, what does your doctor ask for? Is a chest X-ray first. He doesn't ask for a CT scan or an MRI. And this is especially in Africa, right? So we wanted to solve challenges in Africa. So the very first thing is often children, pneumonia, as I mentioned, is a #1 cause of death. Tuberculosis, again, another one infectious cause of death, especially in sub-Saharan Africa. Imaging for cancer is not predominant in children. You look at for the complications, but definitely infection. That's what drives most parents coming into the casualty. And so what we wanted to do is create a tool so that doctors can quickly triage these patients so that they can get treated quickly. Because if you look at TB right now, a lot of patients are being lost because they come too late, or when they come in, they get the X-ray, but the doctor only looks at it weeks later, months later, and you get follow-ups later. With the artificial intelligence tool, it can make a decision in a split of milliseconds. So basically, when the child is putting their shirt back on, the diagnosis is there, and the doctor can look at it and say, okay, this patient needs treatment immediately.
Thank you. That's very enlightening. Connie, I think I need a glass of wine. Can you help me get through the stress these ladies are putting my brain through? I need support. Please tell us a little bit about your flagship wines and a little bit about the giving back story that goes with your wines.
Yeah. So yes, phew. I'm actually busy, reducing some of the wines that I have, focusing on the top sellers like the Cab Sauv, the Merlot, Pinotage, Chenin, and Chardonnay. So those
Where
are
are
my
your
top-
farms? Where do you
Yeah,
source
in
from?
Palm.
Which part? Palm.
Pal
Palm.
region, yeah. So I think talking collaboration, I started collaborating, before the word became fashionable, because that's how my business is built. And so I collaborate with suppliers where I source wine and then I bottle it also in the Pal bottling plant. Currently bottling right now because we sold out on few of the wines. So, for me, it's no longer about Goni Madiehe. It's no longer about Goni wines. It's about the people that we serve, the people that I live amongst. I think a lot about my village where I partly grew up before I went back to Johannesburg, where the poverty is really severe. So in my own way, I'm a giver. I'm trying to walk in my grandfather or grandparents' footsteps, where they were really community leaders and having that giving heart. So I really, use whatever little that I get from the profits of Connie Wines to share with those that I need, especially education. So that's where the gap is in my village. And I can't reach, everybody, but in my own small way, I collaborate with some of the schools, especially schools where my grandfather was like a principal. So that's a special school for me there. So yeah, in where I live right now, I'm not far from Langa Township. My younger sister is in charge of a VUCA rugby academy, and I collaborate with her in terms of, giving back, those young kids, sports uniforms or even bread. Some of them, they go to school without food. So the little that I do, it's really not much, but my heart is there. I really want to build something that will really create a memorable, a good story in the future. My dream is to be sending, young people to university. If one day they can say, I am who I am because of Connie Wines, that will be for me a great achievement. So yeah, it's really not about me. It's about the legacy. It's about purpose. It's about making a difference, not for yourself, but for others. And I believe that when you share more with others, more returns back. I am standing, where, I grew up, and even my business became what it is today because people gave not only resources, their time to coach me, to mentor me. So yeah, I fully believe that even though I meet a lot of punches, when I try to innovate things, people will say, it won't work, and then I try to collaborate with other people, but sometimes they don't see the bigger picture. So you win, you don't win, because people still see collaboration as like a competition of some sort.
Or giving up or giving away or
yeah.
anything.
But in the middle of these two, when you innovate and when you collaborate, you have to have that character of resilience. That should be your wall where, when you get these punches, you kind of like stand in the middle you know, and really stand strong to what you believe in until you achieve it. So yeah, the journey is not easy.
Your wines, can we find them in the UK? And in what
Yes.
stores in South Africa can you find
It's
them?
not really in the stores. I have an importer in Scotland. That's where mostly he's selling, I think, online, but he's driving his business more. I think he's got a bar, he's got a restaurant, he's got an event place. So we started this whole journey 2020 during COVID. They were still trying to set up something in the UK. They also have a restaurant here in Cape Town. It's a seafood restaurant. So my wines are there listed with them. So it's a journey of friendship, trust that I've been through with them until we shipped our first order last year. And 6 months later, I was told, hey, you know, we're thirsty. We ran out of Connie wines. So we just actually, yesterday, we shipped another pallet to them. So
If you
UK,
had to describe your wines in one word, how would you say your wines differ to the many others? What's the one word you would use?
you know, consistency in terms of quality. I think that we don't, you know, undermine. I think I work with people who really try hard to make sure that the cellar is clean, everything, before everything goes to that bottle, you know, where the grapes are grown, everything is traceable. And the winemaking skill, there are no shortcuts. So, you know, if you walk to where we make wine, you feel like, wow, you know, there's that comfort.
Fantastic.
And so, yeah, I think my brand look is also different compared to other labels. It tells a story on its own. It's based on an African cloth, who we are in Africa, vibrant. It's these brighter colors that celebrates the joyful South Africa in the midst of challenges that we face, but we still find that joy and strength to start again, to move on, to do something better for ourselves.
Thank you.
So yeah,
that takes me to the pitbull and high heels.
oh,
Did you say? Did you say you were Carol? Carol, do you want to come off mute? Hi.
Forgot.
Did you
Yes,
say?
I'm here.
Did you, the type of you called yourself, was it pitbull in high heels?
In heels.
Yeah.
A pit bull in heels. Yeah.
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 I look at that and I just think how powerful a statement that is, because it just shows how you can be both things. You don't have to be one or another. You were talking about some of the challenges you have in your environment, male-dominated, the business. The business is typically, I mean, when I grew up, studied to be an engineer, wouldn't have been heard of. At least a doctor. It was even, oh, you can't do those things, you're a girl. One of the things that I find in business is women do bring a different element to the conversation. They do bring different content, empathy, EQ, considerations, broader picture, broader content, more facts. So many things women do differently. I'm not saying it's better or worse. It's why we are 50-50 in the world and we need both halves. In your business, as the businesswoman, as the owner, the founder, entrepreneur, leader, what do you bring to your customers and to the industry that you think is more unique or different than any other person, male or female, that has in your industry? What makes you so successful?
As you mentioned, Sharon, I totally think that women have an eye for detail, and within our field, specialize in really bringing out that eye for detail in everything that we do. I don't want to say I'm a perfectionist, though I would love to think that I am. But I found that in most of the scope of work that we do, I always arrive that my teams must produce the best work there is to produce, be it if we are doing concrete structures, or we are just doing a mere refurbishment work. So I would really love to say that our unique selling point is the excellency that we put out into the projects that we embark on. I strive on perfection, even though you can never get it at 100, but, I've channeled my team, to really put out their best. You want to leave a client feeling that, they can do work with you or they can employ you over and over again, which is why we've managed to retain our clients we've heard for years. So I think for me, it's the eye for detail that I have, which I normally pass it on to the people that I work with, to the team here in the office, to them on site. I always say there's no room for mediocrity, you do it right the first time or you don't do it at all. So that is the rule that I work with every single day. Yeah.
Amazing. And thank you for that. And interesting, very how similarly what you've just said correlates to what Connie was saying around doing it right, doing it best, doing it right first time. Just to jump quickly to Artie, you were talking where you a moment ago, you said something right up to the board level. My ears jumped out of my head. I spend a lot of my day job working with boards of directors, helping a group of people become collaborative, work together, understand one another, be their best, bring their best selves, make the combination of their best selves be greater than the part that they're made up of. All the things that sound totally logical and are almost impossible to achieve. And how has that, what was that you delivered at the board level? I want to just add something to my envelope of tricks that I take when I walk into the boardroom. What can you teach me?
The brilliance of African principles of leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And the key there is that when I started my journey at 18, one of the biggest eye-openers for me was going into rural areas in KZN. And what I got to learn at the feet of Nkosi's and traditional leaders is about their ability to listen with intention and with respect that is missing at board level. And something as simple as umhlangano lekotla, which is the meeting of people, of community. I saw how the traditional leaders and the elders actually sat in a group. They would ask a question to the community, and then they would sit for hours not saying a word. Every single person in the community had a chance to stand up, say their piece, argue their point, disagree, agree, but lend their voice to the conversation. And the elders and the leader never said a word, never interrupted, and didn't even ask clarifying questions. And for me, the biggest eye-opener was that after everybody had a chance to speak, nobody speaks over them, nobody interrupts. And for me, it was, wow, this is something that we can take into the boardroom, which is very dominated with Western principles of business etiquette. What was missing in our country is understanding how to embrace community-based culture coming from the Eastern African cultures into business, where people first, not ROI, not profit first. Profit will always follow if your people and the happiness of people are welcomed into the environment. So what I did in the boardroom was created into an incredible experience where the CEOs, the boards of directors understood not just listening for the sake of listening from the Stephen Coveys of the world, but understanding from a traditional point of view, what are you people wanting to say? How do I encourage them and entice them to speak up without fear of repercussion? And how do I include it in my decision making so that everybody feels that they're part of a solution-focused environment? And then I brought values-based leadership programs into the environment to then sustain that ongoing development that people are talking about. And what we're looking at is human behavioral values. Mm-hmm. What does integrity mean in the boardroom? at that level, it's business first. But integrity for your teams and for everybody else is all about people first. My integrity is that if my friend is sick, I'm going to look after them first instead of go to the meeting. But then if you look at policies and systems in the work business environment, it's based on rigid policies, not human interaction policies. So I found that respect in the boardroom began with giving skills development and leadership levels where it was practical, where they understood the value of it and what it meant and then how to implement it. So simplifying it instead of making a motivational speech about it was the key. Because you can motivate everybody with speech, but a few seconds later, if it does not resonate at the level of their spirit, you cannot change their mindset. And if you look at Africa, it's all about the level of the soul. And that interaction is not something that you can just pass on in a speech. And so I found that leadership programs needed African principles of connection, intimate connection, emotional connection. And from the East, it's about humility and knowing that servant leadership means being of service, not becoming a servant of somebody. So those were part of, critical principles, I believe, would enable a lot of our CEOs and boards of directors to become more inclusive in creating psychological safety.
I think the point you make, which is so valid across all business, whether it's in our executive team, our department we're working with, or massive global corporations, is that collaborative, collegiate, respect, humility, treating people as you would wish to be treated yourself. And we do find so many people in so many walks of life that only look at the world from their vision outwards. They are very uncomfortable recognizing that there are 10 other visions, 3,000 other visions, a world of visions. Anybody got a last 1, 2, 3 words you'd like to go as a closing statement, not even a sentence? Artie, we start with you.
Eleanor Roosevelt very succinctly said that nobody can make you feel inferior without your consent.
I agree. Arlene?
I saw a comment or a question in the group that asked, what would you tell young women in this space today? And one of the things is get to know yourself, understand what you are passionate about as a young woman. Look up and look around you. Understand what opportunities exist for young women in South Africa today. We've got, our president said 40% of all government spend must be spent on women-owned businesses. Look around you. Find out, what does that mean? How do I get involved? How do I access? How do I become a supplier? And fear is created in your own mind. So breathe. Surround yourself with people who feed your soul, who feed your passion. And last, don't ask a broke person how to make money. So be very careful about who you surround yourself with. And that's
Fantastic.
the
Thank you, Arlene. Jashri?
Yeah, to follow up, Arlene, to all young women out there is to say, don't be afraid to have a bold vision. I think my journey in life and my pivot is a clear example where you can be bold. Don't be afraid and be confident to step into your own light. And most of all, be authentic. It's so important to be authentic to who you are. Very early on in my career, I felt like I needed to be this particular mold. But as I started feeling more confident, stepped into my own light and became more authentic to who I am, that just builds so much more trust. And yeah, good luck to everyone.
Thank you. Carol?
Encourage collaboration in all sense of the word. Mostly women, we feel like we have to shine on our own. But, I found that with collaboration in the space where I'm in and in all the other spaces, we're able to achieve a whole lot more as women. So if there are women in this webinar, except for us, obviously, I would push that a bit more, that we break any barriers and boundaries that are set against us, you know, to not be part of whatever is happening around our communities. So I'm really pushing, you know, for that to happen as many times as it can for us women. You know, we should be able to get into industries that are deemed male dominant. You know, we should be able to form forums, you know, anything that can make us be part of the economy and everything that is happening around us. You know, I advocate for women all the time, and I feel that, and I think that the cake is big enough for all of us. We can share it, all of us. So we must break all barriers. Everything that is set against us, we can break all those barriers and collaborate more. Yeah.
Thank you. Connie, quickly.
Yeah, I think you know, one of the things that in my former life as HR executive, I think we as women, we don't have to sound like men or think like men or do handshakes like men. Just be you. You know, we have our own special gifts that we were given, and just shine on them. And I think as women, if one woman win, we all win. You know, let's stand together and collaborate with a mind of building. And I think, you know, we are the ones who could save South Africa, you know, from multiple challenges, I think. So if we stand together in our little corner and just, you know, take, you know, these opportunities, I think we can really, you know, tackle the big elephant one by one.
As half the population, the ones who make many of the household, most of the household decisions, people who have infiltrated our abilities to run difficult households into the business world, and we can solve a lot of things that used to go to war over with a small p or a big P. We don't need to do those things. We can just find a solution. Yeah. And the word I hear that's come up very strongly is, don't try and be a man, be authentic, collaborate, work together. So using the mantra of South African Springboks, who were extremely successful, is stronger together. So thank you, everybody. We have overrun by 4 minutes, which is very unusual, but I wasn't going to stop these ladies' last comments. They were brilliant. So thanks to everybody, and thank you, and happy Women's Month.
Yes.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. Cheerio.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sharon.
Bye.